Alright, so it is the 5th of May. And obviously my message is a little late. May the 4th be with you. Oh, there's Ivy. Ivy, come here. It's very strange. Why are you going around that side? Come here, over here. Ivy's foot thing seems to be coming out. Here, lay down. Lay down. Lay down. Jiminy, hang on. Okay. Nope, stay there. It seems to be working its way through to the top. See that little head right there? The overall swelling is way down, but the is that the right foot? No, it's this foot. There it is. The head is coming out the top, so I'm thinking she stepped on a piece of glass, and it actually is working its way all the way through her foot, which is very strange. The infection seems to have calmed down, but now the head that was originally on the bottom is on the top, and the infection has faded off, so her body fought off the infection. I have hunted for a vet here in San Francisco Bay that anybody actually, really endorses. In Colorado, I would go to Hermosa off Federal. I know that guy. He's a good vet. He's never been dishonest with me. He's very fair priced. You can just walk right in. Out here, they treat you like you're going to into a major hospital. They want you to wash your hands on your way in, and you got to wear a mask, and they'll check your vaccination status, and their reviews of people saying that the vet killed their dog because gave them the wrong medication, the lists go on and on and on and on and on. I don't know what to think of it. The place where I got Ivy her shots is all the way up in Oroville, and I will take her there if this thing doesn't self-resolve pretty quick, but it looks like it's going to me. I'm guessing that this little shard of glass that's in her foot, that's my suspicion, is going to poke out the top. I'll be able to pop it out, and then it'll heal right up. I would be very shocked if that actually occurs. But anyway, it's been 1 week since I bought the new car. I worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and on Instacart, and I did okay. Made like $340 in those 3 days, which isn't great, but the first 2 days were the end of the month, and those are always the worst days. Then on Monday, I went and replaced a gasket on a guy's sailboat out at Treasure Island. He is not in the marina. He's anchored out in the cove, and he rows over to the beach, picks me up, we row back over. I hand cut the gasket. The bolts were barely finger tight. I had to put a wrench on them because they're a little rusty, but I just barely push on the wrench and it would loosen up. So his oil leak was right at the fitting for heat and oil heat. It's an oil cooler, and the gasket on the back was not holding the oil in with it so loose. We pulled it off. I cleaned the surfaces. I filled it up with, cut a gasket from some gasket material I went and got, and then we bolted it all down and got it to a certain tension, and then you're supposed to wait an hour for the glue. It's just basically finger tight so that the glue squishes out a little bit, and then you're supposed to wait an hour and then cinch it down real tight, and then not put any pressure on it for 24 hours. So we did that, and the oil leak was fixed. We cleaned out during that hour, we cleaned out his raw water filter, which he said was clean before he left Moss Landing, which is all the way down by Monterey Bay. It took him, I believe, 3 days to get up here, sailing essentially 24 hours a day, which is absurd because they had to keep stopping for engine failures and oil leaks and fuel leaks and overheating, and they're trying to sail into the wind in a Morgan 41, which is a full keel. Basically, it's just a huge, enormous, heavy boat. It does not sail into the wind very well at all because it's a full keel and it's giant, huge. It's basically an island hopper for the Caribbean. So we couldn't start the engine until the next day because we had to wait for that glue to dry. So we cleaned out the raw water, fresh water cooling filter, and it was full of pine needles and sticks and mud, and there was a really thick layer of algae growing on the inside of the thing. And this guy swears up and down, oh, that was completely clean when we left Moss Landing. There's no way. You don't get a quarter inch of algae growing in that thing in 3 days or 4 days since he'd left. So he was plainly lying. But then we had to wait till the next day. So the next day, he starts the engine up. It does not leak any oil, but his raw water pump is not working, so he shuts the engine off. So I go out there. He took the cover off and popped the impeller out, and it had just dissolved. It was in a million little pieces. You're supposed to change those things every 2 years. They'll typically last 3, maybe 4 years, because my boat hasn't had a heck of a lot of use. Mine's lasted 8 years, but there's no way that I'm going to take my boat out without replacing it after seeing how this went for this guy. It's going to get replaced probably in the next 2 days. I'm just going to take the impeller out and run it over to West Marine or Svensson's and find myself another impeller, and then just gob it up with some Vaseline, stick it in there, and my raw water pump will be good to go for 2, maybe 3 years. But everybody suggests you do it every 2 years because that rubber gets hard and starts to get brittle, and when it comes apart, all the little chunks go floating down into your heat exchanger, which is essentially your radiator. It clogs up all the channels. And that's pretty much what we had to take apart the entire cooling system, find all of these little chunks. The way his system is set up, you have to prime that filter, which is incidentally why he hasn't done it. He denies this, but the seacock, which is basically a ball valve that keeps the water outside the boat through that intake, the ball valve is so worn out that you close it and it doesn't stop it. The filter is half below water line, so it's too. If you can't close the valve, you can't prime the filter, because when you pour water in, it just goes right down into the ocean. So we're able to prime the pump, but not the filter at the top of the pump, unless we get enough pressure to suck a pretty good amount of water up to make that filter work. It just sucks air, and then we stop having a prime and the pump stops. He had thrown away a bunch of chunks of the impeller before I got there and didn't tell me that, so I was digging through all kinds of stuff with, I'm trying to find all the pieces of the impeller. I'm trying to rebuild the impeller on the table so that I can, be sure that I've got all the chunks, and he scoops them all up and tries to throw them away. Like, dude, we have to find all of these pieces. And he's like, well, I'm sure we have all of them. So we put the whole thing back together. We try to prime it. We keep starting the engine. I keep not seeing the prime go, so the filter's not filling up. If the filter's not filling up, we're not getting flow. He keeps starting the engine and then running to the back of the boat to stare off the back of the boat. I can guarantee you that there's not going to be any water coming out of the back of the boat if we aren't picking water up out of the ocean. So I'm down in the bottom of the boat saying, shut it off, shut it off, shut it off. And he won't. He's standing at the back of the boat, can't hear me, his hearing aids are turned off. I think he's in his late 70s, early 80s. So finally, after 8 hours of this, he demands that we check the coolant in the engine, which is currently overheating, because he keeps running it for like 5 minutes at a time. He says he's got to get the batteries charged. Like, yeah, but you're doing it at the expense of overheating your engine, which risks your head gasket, and he won't hear it. He won't have it. He ignored everything I said. It reminds me of that mechanic thing. If I work on your car, it's $45 an hour. If you worked on it before me, it's $55 an hour. If you're going to help me, it's $100 an hour. Well, I should have been charging this guy $100 an hour, because he's getting in the way. He's making demands. He won't listen. So he demands that we check the coolant level in the engine because of all the overheating, and we had to cut back one hose because it burst and was pumping steam out into the boat. And it was not coolant steam, by the way. And so he gets a bucket of water from the cove and pours it into the engine, into the hot engine. This is cold water from the bay going directly into an overheating engine, and we get it topped off. We can't get the prime going. It's about to get dark, so I said, take me back to shore. I'll come back tomorrow. So we get back over there yesterday morning, and the engine's seized up. The head gasket blew, or the head cracked, one or the other, from putting that cold water in there. And so the engine's seized. It won't turn. A bunch of water got into, we think, piston 1, because we pulled all the fuel injectors out and we were able to turn it until piston 1 was almost up. It can't compress the water, so it won't turn. Now the guy is demanding that I stay on his boat for a few nights. There's no heat, there's no electricity, the batteries are dead, he doesn't have solar, but he's got a doctor's appointment on Wednesday, so he wants me to go stay on his boat after the weekend and watch his boat with no heat and no electricity, no way to charge my phone or anything unless I bring my own stuff. And then when he gets back, he wants me to sail all the way down to Moss Landing, which he claims could take a week. So we'll be at sea. This guy that we don't really get along very well. He seems like an okay guy. He won't listen to anybody. He should not have gone in the first place. He should have changed his impeller. He should have checked his oil. He should have made sure he didn't have any oil leaks. He should have cleaned that raw water filter in advance. He should have known that his petcock wasn't there. When he started having failures at Half Moon Bay, he should have turned around and went back, but he forced all of his crew to keep going all the way to San Francisco, and when he got here, his engine broke down, or his boat had pretty much broken down completely, all due to a lack of maintenance and a lack of interest in even checking the systems. So do I really want to go to sea with a guy who won't pay attention to safety protocols, won't pay attention to anybody else's needs, won't listen to anything that I say, with no engine in the boat? It's almost like the guy has a death wish, and I find out that his partner, a woman who was 90 years old, just passed away. So the guy might actually have a death wish. I don't know. But I'm not comfortable going to sea with him, and he owes me $650 for the time that I've spent on his boat, and I'm not seeing him pay me right at the moment, which is bothering me to no end. It's Friday. I'm going to go up to the farm and get my tools and all of my stuff from getting shipped to me. I need to do some laundry because on my normally few days off, I've been working for this guy. Atta, my buddy who lined me up with the guy, says he will pay me, and I'm going to make a demand that he pay me over the weekend, even if I have to take him to the bank to get the money. And I think I'm going to take my own boat over there on Monday evening when he's leaving to go to his doctor's appointment Tuesday and Wednesday, and I'll just stay at anchor right next to his boat, in my own boat with a heater and electricity and a TV. See ya.